I was born into a family that was incarcerated during World War II. We were very ashamed of it, and we tried to be as white as we could. We were sent to Japanese school. It lasted 2 weeks, but we did not want to have almost anything to do with being Japanese. The Third World Strike was an immense event to advance our consciousness and teach us not to be shameful. These are lessons we learned from African Americans and Latinos, to be proud of who you are and understand your history. Learning about the African American experience, learning about the Asian American experience, and understanding what my parents went through, all combined to really make me feel that I needed to do something about this. I'm not going to live like a second-class citizen. I was in law school, and I was inspired by the idea of an Asian Pacific Islander community service that is an advocate for Asian Pacific Americans. It was in the aftermath of the Third World Strike, so we were all imbued with this consciousness and this idea that we cannot be invisible anymore. We need to get some power. We need to fight back. And CAA was one of the very first organizations that assumed that mantle and did assertive, aggressive work to fight for the rights of Asian Pacific Americans. Our mission at the Asian Law Caucus aligned almost perfectly with CAA, which is why we became early allies. Korematsu versus the United States was first heard by the United States Supreme Court in 1944, and almost 40 years later, we were able to overturn his conviction. I was a lead counsel for the Korematsu team. I realized that litigation has its limits. You win a case and you feel good about it. That is temporary, because some other case can come along and change that. We were in the middle of a redress movement, and we needed to educate the country to help advance the legislative goals. Don Tamaki, my partner, was in charge of conducting an educational campaign alongside of our legal campaign. You need to create a more lasting foundation for activism, and that has to do with educating the community and galvanizing the community to take a stand. We started a group called CAPA, the Coalition of Asian Pacific Americans. We financed ground operations for Asian Pacific American organizations with the goal of empowering Asian Pacific Americans, making them a political force to influence electoral process. It's important to understand Asian American history and the history of marginalized people as well. We need to understand those types of connections to gain political power to keep us progressing toward a more egalitarian society. I got really depressed after the elections, and I'm just coming out of that to the point that I feel like we need to fight for our democracy. We are in the most dangerous period in my entire 78-year life. We need to stand up and form a resistance. We have to unite to form that resistance.